Hello again, everybody, and welcome to 4 Star Chicago Sports. This is the Northside 9. Man, things are tightening up. 9 series left, 27 ball games. The playoff race is tightening. The Cubs seem to be tightening. And we have some stars that seem to be failing us at the wrong time. Is it fatigue? Was it luck? We're going to get into it right after this.
Windy City banners rocking 4 stars aligned. Dynasty dreams rise, Bulls in their prime. Cubs curse shattered, the victory divine. Fields be running, clock ticking on my timeline. Shot-town heroes, legends never fade. Black Hawks flying, cutting ice with the blade. White Sox diamonds, the Southside parade. 4 stars shine bright, legacies they made. Mike with the crown, air rain, no dispute. Sweetness in the backfield, Walter in pursuit. Bear down Sunday's midfield, battles cute. Chicago's.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back. The fall is almost here, and that means we got to gear up for the Fall Classic. 27 games left, Kyle, and I don't believe the Cubs have any 4-game series left on the schedule, so that means 9 series left in the season. And the Cubs went into San Francisco hot, winners of 6 of their last 7, 8 of their last 10, and then took 3 on the nose and played, Washington Generals type baseball. It was absolutely embarrassing in the Bay, but they went to Colorado yesterday. They bounced back behind nice nights behind Michael Busch and Dansby Swanson. Swanson 3 for 5, a couple of dingers, 6 RBIs. The Cubs actually took more walks last night than strikeouts. So let's see. Let's get into this because, man, there's a lot more concerns right now that I have than I did a couple of weeks ago. But before we get into that, Kyle, how you doing this morning or this afternoon now?
Doing good, man. Tired. Busy day at work yesterday, and I think I got home at like 4 a.m.-ish probably. So took a nap.
Well, you're here, and I just figured out that I got to work for River Street on Oktoberfest weekend. This was depressing to find this out today. I also have to do the Midnight Mile, which means I'm going to be working with you guys on Friday from 5 to like 10, 11. Then I have to do the 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. shift for the Midnight Mile and then come back on Saturday and work from 10 to 10. Yay! I'm going to be dead.
10 to 10 at River Street?
Yeah, I got to get there to the fest starts, I think, at 11. Maybe it's at 12. So maybe I get to come in at 11. But yeah, from start to finish on Saturday. So I think the fest is over at like 9, but then we got to take everything down and get it back and stock it and shit. It's going to be brutal. But I can't drop out on my daughter, so I'm stuck.
What is the Midnight Mile? What is that?
So the kids have to, they get this team of like 15 kids together. There's tents set up. They spend the night. So you pick your group, and Avery's got like a group of like 5 kids that are going to be staying in a tent with her, but they had like this team, and they all have to take turns running for a certain amount of time around the track, and they can't stop running. If you stop running, you get sent home. It's a competition, and it's going to be fun. I didn't do it last year, neither did Avery, so this is my first year, but I saw some pictures, and I was like, holy crap, this is crazy. I'll be sending you some pictures, dude. It looked like, I don't know, it looked like 50,000 kids in tents in this area. It's nuts. So I kind of can't wait, but we'll see how this goes. So yeah, like I said, the Cubs went into Cali on a high note, red hot. Then they hit San Francisco, and San Francisco seemed to have the Cubs number this year.
Phil?
But I kind of think, what's up, Phil? I kind of have a feeling, Kyle, and we've talked about this in the show, on the show at numerous occasions, but it's starting to become more of a reality here that Boyd has struggled over his last 6 outings. He's walked 12 batters compared to 11 in his previous 14 starts, 19 earned runs, following a stretch of 14 games that he gave up 19 earned runs. That's over his last 6 now. So that's kind of he's getting smoked. He's given up 5 runs twice in his last 6 outings after allowing as many as 4 earned runs just once in his previous 20 appearances. And then you just take a look at this earned run average or what he's done in August: 29 innings pitched, 25 hits, 14 runs, 14 earned, 4 home runs, 27 strikeouts, which is really great because he's not walking people. But you do look over his last couple of starts, that's where he's accumulated most of those walks and that 425 earned run average. Calling him the ace up until August has been the truth. But how much concern, Kyle, do you have now seeing that? Cade Horton still has that concern of he hasn't pitched this many innings. He still looked pretty good. He did last night, and I know you were working, so I don't know how much you got to see last night, but he gave up a lot of long fly balls. He could have very easily given up 5 home runs to this Rockies team yesterday. I think 3 of them were caught with the backs against the wall. So is this starting pitching just and before I ask you, they had a 263 earned run average since July 1st coming into this little stretch. It's just disturbing that it's Matthew Boyd that we're worrying about more than anybody else all of a sudden. What are your thoughts on this rotation and where we go from here?
Well, Sean, I think what you're seeing is fatigue. I mean, most of the Cubs pitching staff has missed time at some point this year with an injury, and unfortunately, due to that being said, they couldn't ever get into a 6-man rotation and get any of these guys a day off. Like these guys are all pitching every 5 days. Like you said, Matthew Boyd hasn't pitched this much in a long time. I mean, Cade Horton's never pitched as much in his entire life. Yeah. I think you're just seeing these guys fatigued. It's the same. I think the same can be said for Daniel Palencia. Unfortunately for the Cubs, due to all these injuries, they just haven't had a chance to give anybody any time off. I'm certainly not down on Matthew Boyd in any way, shape, or form. He, to me, has still been the workhorse for this team since the beginning of the season. He is probably their MVP this year. I think at the end of the day, Sean, they're just getting tired. They're worn out.
Yeah, it just kind of goes away the way of, for me, these short outings, it's fatigue the bullpen. And you brought up Daniel Palencia, and I'm glad you did, because I brought up I got this little Daniel Palencia stat here. In August, 5 earned runs allowed in 9.1 innings pitched, 482 earned run average, 1 blown save, and obviously we saw that game against San Francisco, the last game, he inherited obviously the runner in extras, and they were able to drive it home. He's not getting the same swing and miss that he had prior to August. It seems as though fatigue is catching up, and I don't want to beat up Daniel Palencia too much, because what Palencia has done, and you look at 23 and 24 coming into this season, he was rocking a 5 earned run average. Right now, he's sitting still at below a 2 earned run average. I believe it was 198 is where he is. Just more of a growth spurt, I think, and not for Matthew Boyd because he's a veteran, but a learning young pitcher like Daniel Palencia. Would you call this? I would call it more of a growth spurt and trying to learn how to last a little bit longer during a season. Would that be fair?
Well, Sean, it's like you said. I mean, these guys. First of all, this is Daniel Palencia's real first full season on Major League Baseball. That's important. Second of all, I think, like you said, these guys, the Cubs are just pulling these pitchers with 70 pitches, 80 pitches, in the 5th, 6th inning, and they've taxed this bullpen so much. And then even when it comes to Daniel Palencia, man, the second half of the season, I think he was on a roll in the first half of the season. You got into the second half of the season, he's getting 4, 5, 6, 7 days off at a time. I think you got to find ways to get him on the mound, even if it's a blowout win or a blowout loss. You got to keep those arms going. I mean, sometimes that's very important to some of these players, that routine. Just getting that big chunk of time off. I think maybe he's just adjusting to the major league, Sean. This is something he's never done before. This is the first time he's been a full-time closer in Major League Baseball. I think he's still getting used to the position, and Daniel Palencia would still be my closer going into next year. I'm not worried about him at all.
Yeah.
I think baseball, we've talked about this many times, Sean. Baseball is one of those sports where it's just all momentum, right? Like if what seems like when one guy starts to slow down or start to run into some troubles, the rest of the team follows suit. And I think the same can be said for the pitching staff. It just feels like once one of these guys or the team in totality starts to hit a little speed bump in the road, the rest of the team follows suit. And that's probably what Daniel Palencia is going through right now. I have all the faith in the world in Daniel Palencia going into next season. I think he's going to be just fine. The Cubs just need to do a better job bolstering this bullpen and this rotation, man. The injuries to this pitching staff. And you know what, Sean? I used to sit here and harp on the Cubs and be like, what is going on? They need new trainers. They need to look at the league. Look around the league, guys. I mean, I've never seen injuries like this in my entire life. I think 10 aces right now are out for the season in Major League Baseball. There's the Major League Baseball is, I don't know if this has something to do with the pitch clock. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's just the workouts these guys are doing now. I mean, obviously everybody's getting bigger, stronger, faster. But Major League Baseball needs to look into this and see if they can somehow fix this, because I mean, maybe I'm just crazy, but I feel like this is the most injuries I've ever seen in Major League Baseball history.
Yeah, and again, I'm with you on Daniel Palencia. And if we talk about Palencia, 23-24, carried that 502 earned run average of 144 whip, and he was averaging 5.4 walks per 9 innings. In 2025, he's got a sparkling 189 earned run average, a 10.1 whip, and 2.89 walks per 9 innings. So definitely improving. And I think this is the guy, when they made the trade for Oakland a couple of years ago, this was the guy that they thought they were grooming. When it comes to Matthew Boyd, for me, you know, and we talked about this, Kyle, at the beginning of the year, Boyd has always been more of a solid mid-rotation starter than a true ace. You know, he's shown flashes of brilliance, which we've seen throughout this season. You know, he got off to one of these hot starts back in 2019 where he posted these elite strikeout numbers and looked like he was turning the corner. That stretch turned out to be more of an outlier than a permanent evolution of what he is, you know. And when you look at him, you know, he has been durable and dependable when healthy. He does eat innings, although they are starting to be a little bit more careful with his innings. You know, he's getting down to 5 or 6 innings per start, especially here through August. And like we saw from, you know, May and June and July, he has these, you know, short bursts where he looks absolutely dominant and, you know, prone to giving up the long ball. You've kind of seen that in the month of August. In 6 starts, he's given up 4 home runs. That's kind of turned back. It's plagued him throughout his career. Command and consistency waiver. Sometimes he can go unhittable, but then he unravels in an inning. We've kind of seen that in this month of August just a little bit. You know, struggles consistently against right-handed hitters. We've seen that a little bit. So when we start looking at this outlier and start saying, man, this was more of an outlier. Now he's starting to come back to his true self. I don't know, and I get your opinion on this. Do you feel like this is he has evolved in the Cubs quote unquote pitching lab, and Matthew Boyd can bounce back from whatever he's going through in August, or is this just what we got?
I mean, Sean, if you look at his career in totality, he's definitely been inconsistent. I mean, I think there was a season he had an ERA over 5, he had a sub-2 ERA, a sub-3 ERA. He's been all over the place. But I mean, if you look at Matthew Boyd with the Chicago Cubs, and that's basically all I can go off of, I think Matthew Boyd is probably closer to the guy he was in the beginning of the season than he has been lately. But I do agree, Sean. I mean, if next year, if you have Justin Steele coming back healthy, Cade Horton going into his second basically full season in Major League Baseball, basically his first full season in Major League Baseball, and Shota Imanaga, I think Matthew Boyd would be your 4th, right? Would you agree with that? I mean, yeah. And that's not a bad 4 to have.
Really good Boyd,
he's a really, really good pitcher. Like I said, Sean, you've talked about how he's only pitched this many innings, once in his life before this. I think it's just fatigue. I think these guys are starting to run out of gas a little bit. And once again, man, once the team in whole starts to struggle, it seems like everybody just kind of plays off of each other and follows suit. And this is baseball. This is not just the Cubs guys. I've seen this 1,000 times, 1,000 teams. Usually when a couple of their best hitters start to go through slump, the entire team starts going through a slump. That kind of seems like is happening with the Chicago Cubs pitching staff outside of Cade Horton. But once again, Sean, I mean, if Matthew Boyd is a 3 ERA guy for the rest of his career on the Cubs, 3.5 somewhere in there, I'm fine with it. You know, people always think to them when they hear that number 3.5 ERA that he goes out there and pitches 3.5 runs per 9 innings every single time he pitches. No, it's ebbs and flows, ups and downs that ultimately average that earned run average out. I'm fine with Matthew Boyd and what he's done this season. I'd be fine if he does the exact same thing next year. I think we've gotten more from Matthew Boyd than we expected going into the season. Sean, I talked about how I wasn't a big fan of the contract going into the season. I am all in on Matthew Boyd. I think he's going to be an important part of this team next year. I just think that at some point next year, the Cubs need to find a way to have a 6-man rotation and give some of these guys some days off, man. I mean, I feel like Matthew Boyd's been the staple for this rotation. He's been the cornerstone. He's been the guy who's been there every single game. He hasn't been injured once yet this season, right? I think at some point next season they need to find a way to get some of these guys some days off. Or, Sean, in 2027, I think Major League Baseball is going to seriously consider cutting this season down to 140 games. And that would probably help all these guys.
I honestly believe that. I mean, for as long as I've watched baseball, I thought that April baseball was meaningless and that the season should start in May. It is way too cold. I mean, every single year you see these snow games canceled, got to reschedule. It happens in the Midwest constantly. And now,
and these guys don't like it. They don't like playing in the cold, man. They've all been very vocal about that. They do not like playing when it's snowing outside, and I don't blame them. It's not baseball. Baseball is not a winter sport.
What do you think is going to happen now that the schedule was released for next year, and the Chicago Cubs will open their 2026 baseball season on March 26th at home versus the Washington Nationals? I don't know about you, man, but March is still pretty cold around these parts.
I can tell you this, Sean. I don't know about the Cubs, but I won't be outside playing baseball on March 20th.
No,
I can tell you that for a fact.
Absolutely not.
I mean, John agrees with us here. He says cutting the season would be the best thing they could ever do. I think that's going to be a major focal point and emphasis in this 2027 lockout or meetings. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if they come out in 2027 and say, you know what, guys, it's going to be a 140-game season in 2028. That wouldn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's the best thing that baseball could ever do. I mean, Sean, honestly, name a baseball fan outside of retiree who is able to watch every game. I mean, I miss half the Cubs game. You got to work, right? I mean, they play every day. It's every single day for 6 months. I mean, at some point, you got to start worrying about the health of these guys. Like I said, you're not doing the product any justice or any favors by every single pitcher in baseball be missing big chunks of the season due to injury because they're all fatigued, they're all throwing too many pitches. At some point, Major League Baseball is going to have to address these injury issues. I mean, this is not fun. Zach Wheeler is good for the game. Corbin Burns is good for the game. Justin Steele is good for the game. These are the guys. These are the reasons you watch baseball. All these guys sitting on the IL or IR is not good for the sport. It's not good for the product. And like I said, they've talked to the players about this stuff. Once again, Sean, like you said, they don't want to play in the cold. They don't want to play that early in the season. And most of them, 90% of them, when they've talked about how would you feel about having a shorter season, have said they'd be fine with it. It's more time with their family. It keeps them more fresh, healthy.
I don't know. I was going to say, I don't know if people know this too, but you go out when it's freezing cold and you hit a 90-mile-per-hour fastball off the bat and see how your hands feel.
Yeah,
they don't feel good.
Or if say that 100-mile-per-hour comebacker to the mound, I wonder how his hand feels when he catches that.
And it's also, and as you stated, Kyle, it's not good for the pitchers. It's not good for the arms. It's not good for the runners. It's not good for your hamstrings. It's not good for the bat. It's just not good for your body in general. It's a summer sport for a reason. And I know they finish in cold. It's, when they finish up the World Series in October, especially if you're in New York or Chicago or, one of these Midwestern cities without a dome, it's not pretty to play here either. But, it's 7 games and you're playing for a championship. So you just do it, so.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, think about it. Yeah, everybody who works out, even like I went to school for personal training for strength conditioning after high school, and even workout freaks, you take days off. You take 1-2 days off a week to let your body recuperate. There's times where these guys are playing 20, 30 games in a row without a day off. I mean, at some point, those injuries are going to start to creep up on you. Even those nagging injuries you have, I'm not talking about anything big, but if you have a sore elbow or sore shoulder, we saw it with Nico Horner last season. I mean, eventually that stuff's going to start to creep up on you. You have to give it a couple days to heal before you start playing again. These guys are playing every single day. And I just saw a statistic today, Sean, that If Matt Olson plays the rest of the season, that's going to be 4 seasons in a row with 162 games played. That's
Wow.
gonna be taxing. It's going to take its toll on him at
Crazy.
some point, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be the record, if not mistaken.
To put the train back on the track here just a little bit, but when we talk about these pitchers struggling, we talk about, Palencia. I mean, Palencia's job, whether it's 1 run, 2 runs, or 3 runs, is to come in and get the save. For Matthew Boyd, all the same, going out on the bump and every pitch means so much, especially when you look at the Cubs and how they've struggled in the month of August. I mean, it has just been brutal, and that's also taxing on your bullpen and your starters because every pitch, like I said, means so much. But to counter that, it doesn't help. It doesn't help. And I text you this during that after that Giants game. What was it? Game 2, or was it? It was game 3 when they had Justin Turner and what's his name, the catcher Kelly, in the 4-5 spot. And I'm like, man, are we a serious team when your 4-5 hitters are Justin Turner and Carson Kelly? And it just so happens during that game, both of them bounced in the double plays with the bases loaded. It's just getting to the point where, I'm trying to figure out, as a guy like I am, I like the statistics, Kyle. I know you do too. And all I had to do was go to ESPN, go to Stats and Info, and click on Cubs leadoff hitters. Here they are. Here's your best 4. Now, PCA, yes, only 8 games. But when a guy is hitting 353 in the leadoff spot, don't you think you might want to try him there a couple more times and get Michael Busch out of the leadoff spot, who is obviously struggling in the leadoff spot? Michael Busch, and then you have Nico Horner, who's only played 10 games, who is probably most suited to be your best leadoff hitter, because honestly, I don't know how you feel, Kyle. I don't think the Cubs have a true leadoff hitter on this baseball team.
I think Nico Horner would certainly be the closest thing you could to
Right.
leadoff. I mean, the guy is obviously the most consistent hitter on the Cubs. And I mean, Sean, like you said, if all you had to do was go to ESPN to look up these stats, how can Craig Counsell not look at these stats and go, PCA 353 in 8 games, Nico Horner 275 in 10 games. Maybe I should try that a little more often. And you really don't have to play Nico Horner based off of the pitching matchup. You could put Nico Horner at the leadoff spot every single day. He's gonna find hits, he's gonna reach base. This is something that we've talked about many a time, Sean. I mean, what is Craig Counsell doing? At some point, for the first few months of the season, I was finding excuses. Like, I'm sure he knows more than we do. I'm sure he knows the analytics. He's looking at these certain things, and there's certain reasons why he's making these moves. But we just talked about how taxing a baseball season is. And the 2 guys who have played the least amount of baseball, and Matt Shaw and Owen Casey, can't find their way into the lineup to save their life. It doesn't make any sense to me in any way, shape, or form. And when it comes to the leadoff spot, you tried the Michael Busch thing. It worked for the first few games. It was cool. He hit those home runs. But after that, since then, it's been a disaster. It's time to – we talked about this during the peak of their slump. Why did PCA not ever hit leadoff? Why didn't Kyle Tucker really do something to try to get these guys? You got to change things up. If it's not working, you guys, you have to fix it. Doing the same thing every single day and expecting a different result is not a good way to win baseball games, win a championship. And it seems to me like Craig Counsell is just very stubborn. He just seems like a very stubborn type guy. I'm sorry, Sean, but I think as long as he's been here, Nico Horner should have been their leadoff hitter. I think he's the closest thing you got to a leadoff hitter.
And not subject, Jeremiah Smith just put himself in conversation in game 1 for catch of the year.
He's going to do that a lot.
Holy mackerel, is this kid elite. He had 2 drops early, but that was a hell of a catch as his quarterback was getting destroyed in the end zone. All right, back on topic. Sorry, boys. This is a big college football weekend. When it comes to Michael Busch, and here's the other thing. Michael Busch hitting cleanup in 2025. He's hitting 272, OPS of 367, and slugging 476. And he doesn't hit cleanup. And I'm going to be honest, I looked up this stat today, and when you look at Michael Busch and say Michael Busch has more home runs than fellow first baseman Matt Olson and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Freddie Freeman, with fewer at bats than all of them, but yet this guy, you can't put him in against lefties because Craig Counsell won't give him the opportunity. And I understand I think he's hitting like 220 or 210. I forgot to look it up. It's not good. But how do players get better? You have to run him out there. And if you want to have him against righties, you see 275 as your cleanup, put him in a 4-hole against righties, drop him in the lineup against lefties. I'm talking about an $8 million manager that I'm just thinking to myself, I don't know that it should be this freaking hard to discover this. And at no point ever should Justin Turner be hitting cleanup for the Chicago Cubs in 2025. If you want to go back and say, hey, it's 2018, I'd be all for it. 2025, it's too cheap now.
Yeah, I can tell you this, Sean. If you go look at the 4 or 5 hitters for all these championship caliber teams like the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Brewers, the Mets, I can tell you this: Carson Kelly and Justin Turner are not scaring anybody. If that's your 4 or 5 hitter in the playoffs, you're in big trouble. Big trouble, because that's laughable. I mean, honestly, I hate to say that because I like Justin Turner. I think he's a very good dude, and he's kind of one of those players, coaches. I think he helps this team in certain ways, and I think Carson Kelly's been much better than everybody expected him to be, and he's been very important for this team, especially with the injuries to Miguel Amaya. But at the end of the day, man, these guys who they are. I mean, Justin Turner is 40 years old. Carson Kelly has been inconsistent his entire career. He was a really high draft pick who never really panned out. Your 4 or 5 hitters should be your best hitter. I mean, those should be the guys who are capable of getting guys home. And right now, they're just not. And you know what? It seems like to me every time, Sean, that Craig Counsell does something in the lineup that we think he should do based off the statistics or metrics, it works. And then he changes it back the next day. Like Swanson never should have been taken out of that 8-hole until it stopped working. It was working just fine. It was the best he played all season in that 8-hole. And then all of a sudden, Counsell brought him back into the 4 and the 5. Like, Counsell, you did the right thing. You tweaked the lineup. It worked. Why are you changing it back? Why are you're getting too cute? You're too smart. You're getting too smart for your own good. You got it, Sean. This is not rocket science, right? I mean, like there's a lot of things in baseball that I probably don't understand. You probably don't understand when it comes to metrics and statistics. Moving people around in the lineup is not one of those things. We've seen this happen for every baseball team in the history of baseball. Like when you make adjustments to the lineup and it's working, keep it there until it doesn't work, and then you have to make those adjustments again. This happens to every team in baseball, right? But I feel like every time Counsell fixes a problem, he does himself the service of creating another problem. Like it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's like I said during the heart of the slump, Sean. We talked about this a million times. When they couldn't hit the ball to save their lives, why weren't you changing anything? Why aren't you changing anything? I think the Cubs could have told them. People around. And then, Sean, you talked about numerous times, we need a spark, we need a spark, we need a spark. It seemed like Owen Casey and Matt Shaw provided that spark. And what does Craig Counsell do against the Giants? I'm going to bench both of them. Like, what are you doing, man?
It just doesn't make sense. To me
that game 3 against the Giants was the biggest disappointment I've been in Craig Counsell.
Did it not remind you of Game 5 versus the Brewers, where it seems like he threw in the white towel? Like,
but you already lost 2. You got to take this game. And another thing about Craig Counsell or the Cubs in general is it seems like we just waste a lot of really good starts, really good pitching starts. Like Imanaga will give up 2 runs, we lose the game. Boyd will give up 1 run, we lose the game. Like you can't waste those starts, especially when you're in a slump like this and you're trying to chase down the Brewers for the division. This is the time of the season in which the Cubs need to go all out. Use every single thing you got in that boat, do anything you can find to win these games. And it almost feels like he's doing the opposite. Like you said, Sean, like he's like, oh, well, we'll win 2 and then lose 1. We'll win 2 and then lose 1. Well, Craig, the Brewers ain't doing that.
No.
They're just winning. So if you want to stay in that race, which I don't think is even a race anymore, to be honest with you, if you want to stay in first in the wild card, you need to start getting creative. And he just, to me, like I said, Sean, I think he's just very stubborn. I think he thinks if I keep putting this lineup the way I like it out every day, sooner or later they're going to start hitting. But it hasn't happened. It's not happening. And I don't want to hear that it happened against the Colorado Rockies, guys. Like I heard a lot of people at the bar last night who were like, the Cubs are back. Like, guys, breaking news. Everybody who plays the Rockies beats the shit out of them. That's why they have the worst record in baseball. So
and you want to
keep saying this is a get right game. No, it's not. It's not a get right game.
We gave up 7 runs to the Colorado Rockies as well, which was very depressing because I actually erased it from the show because I was going to bring up a stat going into yesterday. Ben Brown had been excellent in his last 4 outings, and he goes to Colorado and they just beat him up and hit him all around the park. And I mean, I don't know what I don't know. I don't want to say the same for Kate Horton. It was the altitude because Kate Horton was hit hard last night. I mean, they were hitting the balls on the screws on Kate Horton. And I'll be honest, watching that game, I'm very surprised he didn't give up 4 or 5 home runs yesterday. And that is what it is. It is what it
Well,
is.
and what's really sad about yesterday's game, Sean, and not to make the show about that one individual game, but it seemed to me like Craig Counsell. I mean, you had at one point you had 10 runs on the board. I think that's when Ben Brown came in. It seemed to me like they wanted Ben Brown to finish that game, and here you
Yeah.
are in a game in which you scored 10 plus runs, and you have to go use 2 of your
Yeah.
best bullpen pieces to finish
Yep.
the game. Like that's just not a winning recipe. And John, I agree with you 100%. He says, seems like you guys are saying the same thing every week. Counsell just outdoes himself each week. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. It's unfortunate we got to keep going around this circle.
Yeah, and we can only go based off of what we've seen in the past. Craig Counsell was a very good manager on the Brewers by all accounts. I think a lot of Cubs fans were excited when he got here. I feel like I'm still waiting to see what it is that people are so excited about. Because if you ask me, Craig Counsell looks like an average manager, and I know people are like, "Well, look at the record, guys. They have a winning record. They're a good baseball team." I understand that, but
It could be better.
people keep saying to me over the last 3 seasons that like early games of the seasons don't matter. Every game doesn't matter as long as you take 2 out of 3. No, if you can take 3 out of 3 in each series, then take 3 out of 3 because the last 2 seasons, the Cubs missed the playoffs by 1 game. You know what that means, guys? That means that every single game on their schedule counted. That's what it means. If they would have won 1 more of those games last year or the year prior, they would have found themselves in the playoffs. My goal as a baseball manager or football coach or anything else would be to win every single game. And like Sean said, there's been a couple of games this season where you have to ask yourself, that it begs the question, is Counsell just giving this game up? And that's not a good way to manage a baseball team, especially when you have the superior roster. If you look at the Giants roster and you look at the Cubs roster, the Cubs are a better baseball team. You should not be swept by the Giants. And I don't care if it's in San Fran. That doesn't matter to me. In no way, shape, or form, if you look at the Cubs roster, should they be swept by the San Francisco Giants. But if your manager is willing to give them a game, then they only have to win 2.
Yeah, and going into that series, the Giants are 3 games under 500 at home, which you feel really good leaving Anaheim, heading to San Francisco. Like, oh wow, we're going to catch San Francisco. They're not that good at home. They're a better team on the road. They did just beat the Brewers 2 games out of 3. Thank you for that very much. And, that kind of brings me back to giving up games. When you go back to game 5 against Milwaukee, when he took out Casey and Shaw, who were leading the charge in the 3 previous games that were all victories, you put yourself out 6.5 games instead of putting yourself out 4.5 games. Then you look at the next 2 series. I hate to say this, guys, but Craig Counsell, as the manager of the Chicago Cubs, has cost the Cubs this division race because right now, if you're playing better baseball and you lined up things correctly, go back and look at the schedule. The Cubs could be within 2.5 games of the Milwaukee Brewers right now. And if I sat down and did the math, everyone will look at it and say, holy shit, we could be in the thick less than 3 games out with 27 games left in this baseball schedule. But Craig Counsell is giving games away that have cost the Cubs 6.5 to 4.5 is a huge difference, especially at that time. I think there was 39 games left. It's a huge difference. I've been the great Craig Counsell defender, but man, is he under my skin right now because giving that game away against Milwaukee, and then you lost the first 2 in San Francisco, and then you put that goddamn shit lineup in. Man, I was furious. I was so upset. And it's like, man, it's almost like he's throwing in the towel and giving up the series because he looks at the metrics and says, oh, we got a 99% chance to win the division. So we're just going to give it up and we're going to make the playoffs and we'll see what happens there because once you get in, anything can happen. I'm disgusted. I'm aggravated.
It's not just, there's more, and I don't want to make this Craig Counsell show, but there's more mistakes than that, Sean. It's not just, we've talked about this before, just even forget the fact that he's leaving Owen Casey out when he's on fire. How about the fact that every time he plays Owen Casey, he has to play one of the best pitchers in baseball? Like, dude, you're trying to protect this kid. You're trying to help him. You're trying to give him a good start to his career. And every time he plays, he's got to play Freddie Peralta or give this guy a layup. Like Owen Casey should be like in the game last night. Owen Casey should be in all these games where their pitchers they're facing have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ERAs. Give him some confidence. Let him hit a couple bombs. Craig Counsell's not doing that. And Sean, when you watch sports, as a sports fan, you always feel like one team is superior and the inferior team has to play a perfect game, and the superior team has to have like an okay game, and that's the only way that inferior team can win. That's the way I feel about when I'm watching the Cubs and Giants, but I feel like the Cubs are the inferior team. But look at the rosters; they're not. So why am I getting that feeling? Why am I getting that vibe? Like, man, we have to scrape a run out right now. We have to, because if not, we're not going to beat the Giants. Like, the Giants suck. They're not good.
And that's what I was saying earlier, man. There's so much pressure. And Kyle, as you're saying about not putting Casey in, and here, Ian Happ, who for his career has been a little bit above an average baseball player. If you go in the totality of his career, it is true. When you look at his career, if you take out this year and you look at his averages coming up to this year, he is a tad bit better than league average. But this year, currently, right now, Ian Happ has the 10th worst batting average in baseball at 227. He's 10th worst among qualified batters. Only 153 qualified batters currently in MLB. He's 96th among those with a 153 of 153 for a 103 WRC plus. And over his career, this is kind of what I mean. Out of the 153 that are eligible, he's 76. So he's right in the middle overall. But I honestly think to get him back on, and this could be, part of the people may or may not agree, but I think Ian Happ is, if you're not going to put Horner and you're not going to put PCA, I think Happ is your best leadoff man. He did strike out a lot in that leadoff haul, but he also took 50 walks. He also has, I believe, 12 home runs out of that leadoff spot. So since you don't have a true guy, maybe you put him back in there. And you should also have Nico Horner as, right now, tied with Mark Grace all time for the Cubs, hitting 315 with runners in scoring position. You put that right now, that's second in Major League Baseball. Lineup construction, the Cubs could start scoring runs with a better lineup construction that is not changed. And that's, I think, what got all under everybody's skin, because you saw him change that lineup construction a little bit in those 3 games against Milwaukee. The Cubs got hot, and then what did he do? He goes into game 5, he returns to that same shitty lineup, and he hasn't changed it since. And what's happened to the Cubs? They've struggled once again.
He wants that lineup to work so bad. It's like trying to force a square peg into a circle hole. Like, he wants it to work so bad, but Craig, it's just not working. And Sean, that Giants game. What's up, Foster? That Giants game.
What's up, Foster?
When the bases were loaded, I knew Justin Turner was going to hit a double. I knew it. I felt it. I'm like, this is not going to go well, because because the decisions that Craig Counsell made are about to bite the Cubs in the ass, and they 100% absolutely did. Both times they had runners in scoring position, Justin Turner and Carson Kelly double play. I mean, Owen Casey and Matt Shaw have earned that respect in my mind. They've earned the respect. They should be on up at bat when there's runners in scoring position, because right now, since the All-Star break through the second half of the season, Sean, they've been the Cubs' best hitters when runners in scoring position. Why take them out of that spot? It just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like Craig Counsell, like, he wants to make it tougher on himself. Like, I honestly believe that he wants to make it tougher on himself. Like, Craig, you found the winning recipe, right? You had to tweak a bunch of stuff. You had to bring Owen Casey up here. Matt Shaw had to move up. You found it, and then you just resorted right back to the old ways. And all of a sudden, the Cubs got cold again. And like I said, I don't want to hear anything about the Colorado Rockies, guys. I don't. Great game by Swanson. It was fun to watch. It was awesome. 6 RBIs, huge night for him. But it's the Colorado Rockies, guys. I mean, name a team that hasn't put up 10 runs on the Colorado Rockies at least once during their series. This is not a good baseball team. They're the bottom of the barrel. If you can make an argument, there are probably a couple AAA teams out there that would put up a fight against the Colorado Rockies. I mean, if you want to consider this like a get-right series and the Cubs go out there and score 40 runs over 3 games, sure. I mean, I'm certainly not opposed to it, but That doesn't mean they're going to go to a series with the Dodgers in the playoffs and all of a sudden the Cubs are back. I mean,
Right.
you need to find that spark. I think you found it Owen Casey and Matthew Shaw, and for some reason they can't find consistent playing time. And he keeps saying, "Oh, I'm protecting these guys. I'm protecting these guys." Okay, well, what about your Kyle Tuckers and Seiya Suzuki's? What are you doing to protect them? Because I don't know if you guys are watching or not, but Seiya Suzuki has had one of the biggest falls from grace I've ever seen in sports history. Go look at his numbers since the All-Star break. They are atrocious.
So Kyle, I have them, and I forgot to do a graphic. I'm kind of pissed at myself. But over the past 29 days, Seiya Suzuki has 1 home run, and he's holding a 205 batting average. Over his last 37 games, he has 2 home runs and 7 RBIs. And up until last night, over his past 12 games, he had no extra base hits. And again, this is a guy that you can't bench a couple of days to get Casey's bat in there and see if Seiya can get right.
It doesn't make any sense to me, Sean. It doesn't. And you know what? It stinks because
and Kyle, really quick, since the All-Star break, for as bad as Ian Happ's been, Ian Happ has 100-point higher OPS than Seiya Suzuki since the All-Star break. I mean, this is so bad right now.
What's really disheartening, you guys, is that we've seen that when they tweak the lineup a bit, and with Matt Shaw and Owen Casey, there, it doesn't even have to be that. Maybe you just move these guys around a little bit. It's worked. And so there is a solution there. Like, we know there's a solution because we've seen it. And for some reason, it's like Craig Counsell has this cheat code to win games, and he's just not willing to use the cheat code. Like, I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. If he had tried a million different things and nothing worked, I'd be like, you guys, at this point, the Cubs are just screwed. But I feel like there is a solution inside this clubhouse, inside that lineup, and he's just not willing to use it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And like I said, I don't want to make this whole Craig Counsell show, and I'm certainly not saying here that I don't like. I'm out on Craig Counsell. I don't want to be the manager for the Cubs, but I'll tell you this, Sean, I am not impressed throughout this 2025 season. And if this is what we're going to get going into the future, I think the Cubs made a huge mistake by bringing Craig Counsell here and making him one of the highest paid managers in all of baseball.
Well, I was one of those guys that was thoroughly excited. And when he was signed, I thought, maybe we were fooled by how good Milwaukee's farm system is and the way Milwaukee is as an organization. Still don't believe they're a World Series team. I'm sorry. I know they have the best record in baseball. Their numbers for slug just don't back it up. The only team with the worse slug than them to win a World Series was the 03 Diamondbacks. Nobody else in baseball history has been able to pull it off. So they would be joining the Diamondbacks in a very, very rare class of teams that could pull it off. I just don't see it. And we all know that the Dodgers are getting hot at the right time. They're going to get healthy. They're going to be one hell of an out. And I personally don't think we're going to find out, because Phillies and the Brewers are going to square off. Of course, the Phillies lost Zach Wheeler for the year, which is their ace, which is detrimental to that ball club. The team that I had pegged over the Dodgers, I don't anymore, losing Zach Wheeler. I mean, that's a tremendous loss for your ball club. So, we'll see. But again, when it comes to Counsell, John asked earlier, how is his reputation so good? I think that the players that they had in the organization that was around him, it didn't matter that bullpen in Milwaukee was so good the last couple of years. Whoever you brought in of the plug and play was going to get you out. So I didn't think that Counsell had to think as much as Counsell has to think here in Chicago. Especially, I don't think Milwaukee ever had to deal with the type of injuries that Chicago's had this year. Losing your ace, losing multiple pieces throughout the year in your bullpen. Not only losing your ace, but losing Shota for a period of time. Now you've lost Tyon for the second time. And not having the top pieces to plug in and play right away. Like Ben Brown's been a failure thus far. I'm not giving up on Ben Brown completely. I'm getting closer, but the pieces you've plugged and played haven't worked. Where when he was in Milwaukee, those pieces he plugged and played were really good. You guys got to remember Woodruff and who was the other stud? Woodruff and Corbin Burns. Both of those guys were bullpen pieces that he plugged and turned in. He brought him into the majors. He brought him in the back end and the middle of their bullpen. 6th, 7th, 8th inning guys, then flipped them over into starters. which was a great plan. Obviously, they were built to be starters in Major League Baseball. I think that's what he's trying with some of these guys, but the pieces just aren't working out the same, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, that's just a winning culture. I mean, over the last decade, they've just been a really good organization. They're a very well-run organization, and they just don't go through these massive slumps like the Chicago Cubs do. And honestly, Sean, I'd be pressed for you to find any team in baseball that goes through the slumps like the Cubs do. I mean, everybody has bad days, guys. Everybody has bad months, bad weeks. But the Cubs, I feel like once it starts, it just snowballs and there's no way out of it. The Brewers just don't do that. They're not that organization. They always find a way to rebound. And I agree with you, Sean. I mean, I do think that the talent there's a lack of talent on the Cubs roster, especially when you talk about all these injuries, right? I mean, the fact that the first injury the Cubs dealt with was their ace Justin Steele being out for the season, that right there could have derailed some teams, and the Cubs bounced back, and I was happy with what I saw. But I feel like all these injuries are just finally catching up to them. And I'm not making this a cop-out for Craig Counsell because he's certainly, like we've talked about for the last 10, 20 minutes here, guys, he's made plenty of mistakes. But I will say it is tough to win in baseball when every single one of your starting pitchers ends up on IR. And then on top of that, Sean, they brought Eli Morgan here, a move we both really liked. We both really liked that move. I thought he was really good when he was in Cleveland. He looked good on the Cubs. He had that one bad game, and we found out that reason he had that bad game is he was injured, and they put him on that injured list right after that. But I mean, in Craig Counsell's defense, I don't know how many teams in Major League Baseball could overcome the amount of injuries the Chicago Cubs have sustained. This is insane. I've never seen anything like this. Javier Assad starts on the injured list. You lose Justin Steele for the season. Imanaga misses almost 2 months of the season. Jamison Tyon's been sent down twice now due to injury. I mean, realistically, the only consistent pitching they've had are Matthew Boyd and Colin Ray. And going into the season, those were the two guys you did not want to rely on at any point this season. So the fact that the Cubs are where they are is a testament to Craig Counsell and how he manages this roster. I just don't like the way he manages in-game decisions. That's my problem with Craig Counsell. I think he's done a pretty damn good job of duct taping this pitching staff together. I just don't like the way the lineups. Every time the lineup comes out, I'm like, oh God, please. I look at it, I'm like, oh God, Craig, what are you doing? You guys, let's face it. Justin Turner, cool guy, players coach, good for the organization, good for the young guys. Not a good baseball player. Not a good. It should only be in this lineup. If it's absolutely a necessity. No, I'm not saying that Justin Turner never was. At one point in his career, he was one of the best players in baseball.
Yeah,
he's 40 years old. It's not an indictment on Justin Turner. It's an indictment on the Chicago Cubs. If that was that's your first bench player, your backup plan is a 4-year-old Justin Turner, then you didn't do your job.
Good job.
Didn't do your job, because every other team in baseball, if you go look at their 3 platoon players, their 3 bench players, they're all serviceable or above average good players in baseball. The Cubs started the season with John Birdie, Justin Turner, and before Brujan, it was what was the guy's name, Sean, who was really hot in the spring training?
Oh, Gage Workman?
Yeah, Gage Workman. I mean, guys, the names that the list I just gave you shouldn't be playing in Major League Baseball, let alone be your go-to guys on the bench if you're a team competing for a World Series. The Cubs have done this to themselves, and like I said, testament to Craig Counsell for the way he's found ways to duct tape this roster together. But it's the in-game decisions for Craig Counsell that bother me, that I think lose games.
And I think that's why I'm 100% not out on him.
Neither am I. Because, Sean, first of all, they're still winning baseball team. I mean, we can sit here and complain all day, but they're still
over 500.
Yeah, I mean, this is the best the Cubs have looked in a very long. I mean, since 2016, to me, this is the best they've looked.
I don't disagree with the stubbornness, because there is a huge amount of stubbornness in Craig Counsell, especially watching him not change this gosh darn lineup. It's like banging your head off the brick wall and saying, oh, the wall's going to get softer. No, it's not. You're just going to crack your skull open. And that's what I feel like I'm doing, watching the same lineup strike out, make outs, big time, because Willie Castro, Justin Turner, Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, and Carson Kelly for the last 2 months have sucked ass. And if I have to bring it up, you have Carson Kelly batting in your 4th or 5th hole religiously through the last month. The guy is hitting 224 with a 512 OPS. He should not be batting 4th or 5th in your lineup. ever point blank. It was fun watching him in April. It was fun watching him in May. It's not been fun watching him the last 3 months because he's returned to Carson freaking Kelly.
No, that's something they should have accounted for. They should have known that he was going to be. I said this, right? You heard me say, I'm not a coach in I'm not a manager in baseball, Sean. You heard me say, yeah, it's fun, it's cool, it's a nice little story. But at the end of the day, Carson Kelly's got to become Carson Kelly, and you're going to have to find a way to overcome that. And the Cubs haven't done that. They're like, oh no, he's still the same Carson Kelly was in April and May. Put him in the 4 or 5. No, he's not. He's not. All you have to do is use your eyes to tell that he's clearly not that guy. And Justin Turner is 40 years old. Right, guys, he was great. At one point in his career, he was a very good baseball player. He doesn't belong. Justin Turner should be a bench coach. That's what he shouldn't be playing baseball. He should be a bench coach. The Cubs have these guys. These guys have been. Owen Casey's been in their farm system all year. Matt Shaw got sent down at one point. And since the All-Star break, he's been absolutely amazing. These are guys who should be in your lineup every year. You're the ones who have been telling us for the last 3 years that these are the future of the Cubs. Yeah. Well, then let's see them.
And you want to
show me?
You want to know what's funny, Kyle? The big hits came. The big hit when the Cubs were down 2-0 in Milwaukee. Who got the big hit?
It
was Baller. Mo Baller. He hit that double in the gap.
You're talking about that first
series. Yeah, the first series. What did the Cubs do the next day? They sent them down. Then you get up Owen. Then you bring in Owen Casey for this 5-game series, and we're like, oh, we're gonna bench Kyle Tucker, which I think everyone was ready for after watching him struggle. He comes up with these big hits, absolutely terrorizes Milwaukee. They're like, oh, we're going to give him the Alexander Canario treatment. You just sit on the bench and you watch baseball. I don't understand how any of this is benefiting him at all.
Yeah, Sean, I agree with what you said. You said this to me a couple of days ago on the phone. You said, listen, if he's not going to be in your lineup, you need to send him back down so he's getting professional at bats, so he's getting better. Like he needs practice. He's a prospect. The only way to get better as a prospect is to play. And so you're doing him just justice. You're not doing him any favors by bringing him out of the minor league, so he's losing those at bats. You're bringing him up to the major league. You're like, all right, cool. He's going to get bats in the majors. No, he's not. He's going to play once every 5 games. That's not helping the development of Owen Casey. Watching other people play baseball is not helping the development of Owen Casey. So if you really this hell-bent on not getting these young guys in your lineup, then leave them down there.
Yeah,
just leave them down there. And it's just asinine to me, the fact that Matt Shaw should never, ever, ever at any point for the rest of the season not be in this lineup. Ever.
I
that
agree.
Should never, ever, ever be a thing. And on top of that, Sean, I'd be happy to never see Willie Castro play outfield for the Chicago Cubs ever again. Because he clearly does not look comfortable there. And Craig Counsell Jed Hoyer goes and gets this utility man, this guy who can play anywhere on the field. And Craig Counsell's first thought is to put him in the position that he played the least amount of games in all season in left field.
Right.
Like clearly he did not look comfortable there. That's probably not one of his favorite positions. He's probably better off playing third, short, or second. So leave him on the infield. If you're going to force him in the lineup, Craig, and leave him on the infield, why the hell are you? This is what I'm talking about. We've seen with the Cubs, even with David Ross here, where they all want to do this thing. Like Joe Madden did it, where he was like, I want to put a pitcher in the outfield and left field. Like, guys, knock it off. Just play these guys where they're best suited. Matt Shaw's clearly your best third baseman. Leave him at third base for the rest of the season. He's really young. He hasn't played that much this year. He's gotten a lot of days off. He was sent down for a month. He hasn't played nearly as much baseball as everyone else. He is more than capable of handling the starting third base position for the rest of the season every single day. He's clearly your best hitter since the All-Star break. Leave him in the lineup. This is not rocket science. This is a recipe for winning baseball games. Best hitter should play. Very simple.
And I'm hoping, and I have a feeling that because I believe Ian Happ was 3 for 5 last night. Hold on, let me double check. I think he was 3 for 5 last night. And
once again, man, guys, anything Rockies.
Well, this is all I'm saying is with Happ being 3 for 5, he was 3 for 5, 2 RBIs, 2 runs yesterday, no strikeouts, and a home run. This is gonna keep Craig from allowing Casey to play, even though Kyle Tucker was 0 for 3 yesterday. And I know PCA was 0 for 4, but PCA was actually robbed on two hits that should have been hits that were sensational plays by Colorado. So technically, PCA should have been 2 for 4 yesterday. He hit that rocket. I don't know if you got to see it. And the second baseman went diving, full out stretch and caught it. I couldn't even believe he caught it. I actually got up and was like, yeah, I thought he got a base hit, and that second baseman robbed him. He would have knocked in a couple for PCA yesterday.
Well, the Giants game, Matt Shaw he had a double. I think there was one out at that point. I'm talking about the last game of the Giants series. Who was it? It was one out, and they doubled Matt Shaw up because they caught the liner and threw it to second. Who? It wasn't that PC? Was that PCA too?
I think it was PCA. I know exactly what play we're talking
about.
That
absolutely should have been. Any other game in the Major League Baseball history, that's a hit. That is, I mean, that was a rocket.
The Cubs have had some bad luck.
For sure, every team does, and I feel like the more you get into this, woe is us, we're in this slump, we can't get ourselves out of it, the more bad luck finds you, right? Because you're just not doing a good job of facing adversity.
If I'm the Cubs, I'm benching Kyle Tucker again today. Give him the day off. Give him the Saturday off. Let him, in case he gets some bats, let him build some confidence, because he's got that power in the bat. And with that power in that bat, he can maybe drive a couple out of the ballpark, because even with Kyle Tucker's return, and I don't know if how closely anyone's watching this, but even with Kyle Tucker's return to getting base hits every now and again, he's not really driving the ball. I know he had a home run the other day, but the majority of his at-bats are base hits. He's hitting lazy.
His swing looks weird. It looks different to me. For the last 2 months, his swing has looked completely different to me than it did for the first few months of the season. Maybe I'm crazy. I'm just reading too much into looking too much into it, but it looks desperate. It looks like he's reaching, and he wasn't doing that early in the season. He was taking walks. And there's another thing about Craig Counsell. There are certain games this year where the home plate umpire has been absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not saying do it every game, but Craig, every once in a while, you got to pick a guy and go out there and destroy him and get kicked out of the game. You got to do it.
He should have got ejected versus the Giants, man.
Yeah, light a fire under their team's ass. Like, there's certain pitchers who don't need help, and these umpires start the game giving them 3 strikes out a foot outside. Like, well, if that's going to be how big the strike zone is for the rest of the game, Cubs, you're pretty much fucked. So Craig Counsell, go out there and make sure he shrinks that strike zone. Go out there and scream in his face. Tell him he's doing a terrible job. Tell him he needs to be better. He's professional. He gets paid for this. Craig Counsell just sits there and watches it, and you can see the frustration in the hitters. So Craig, go stand up for your guys, man. Go out there. I think it was Logan Webb who he was giving him, his strike zone was massive. I'm like, guys, Logan Webb doesn't need help. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. You're calling strikes a foot outside of the zone. Craig, go out there and stop to the ship right now in the first inning. Don't let this linger on to the rest of the game. They're going to destroy you. But he just, like I said, Sean, they show him in the dugout. He's just kind of sitting there chewing on a sunflower seeds, kind of like looking around. Like,
he's a work.
I don't see the fire or the passion. And if you're going to be a coach or a manager in any sport, you got to be a leader, and you got to be rambunctious. You got every once in a while. You don't have to be a rah-rah guy all the time, but we even saw Lovie Smith do it at times. Craig Counsell needs to start being that guy. He's got to find a way to pull this team out of this slump, pull this team out of this terrible run they've been on. And to me, it feels like, Sean, we could sit here and make a list and just check off every box. Craig Counsell hasn't done that. He hasn't done that. He hasn't done that. He hasn't done that. Do something, man. Do something, because it's becoming really, really tough as a Cubs fan to watch this team, because they're capable. Sean, if this was the team like they were if they were like, this is the team in 2019, we're like, they suck, and this is going to suck to watch. Like, this is going to be bad. But you're watching a team that's playing like the 2019 team, and after watching the beginning of the season that they're capable of much more. That's inside of them. It's in there. That it's possible. They just can't find a way to do it. And at the end of the day, whether people like it or not, the manager needs to take some accountability for this fall from grace.
Well, the good thing is, and I wanted to get into this before we take a look ahead. I know John's still hanging out with us, and I wanted to get some of your guys' opinions here in the chat, if you may. We have 27 games left. That's 9 series, and I do believe I double check on that. I do believe the Cubs will end up playing Cincinnati one more time before this season is up. And that's going to be pretty crucial series. It's starting to look like that. Hold on one second. Yes, the Cubs and the Reds play the 19th of September through the 21st of September. And why is this important? because the Cubs once had, an 8-9 game lead in this wild card. Well, the Cincinnati Reds sit 5 games behind the Cubs for the first wild card spot. The Cubs have a 4-game lead over the Mets, a 2-game lead over the Padres. Now, with the kind of, regression from what we've seen out of Matthew Boyd, hopefully he can bounce back. Now you have no Jameson Taillon, and our feelings, I believe, are mutual when it comes to Javier Assad. He's the picture of consistency. He's going to give you a great outing every time out. He's going to keep your ball club in it every time out. But with these guys, the Reds are hot. I really like the makeup of this Reds ball club. I did at the beginning of the year. I picked them to be the Cubs' biggest problem in the NL Central this year. I didn't see this coming out of the Milwaukee Brewers, so I missed there. But the Reds are on the come. You got the Mets, who went through that long dip, but they seem to be coming out of it. And San Diego is red hot, and the Cubs are just the Cubs. And I know they're
just coasting. They're just ghosting, and it's like, where's the sense of urgency?
That's what I'm saying. Is there any fear in the chat? Is there any fear in you, Kyle, that even though you look right now, you go to Fangraphs, it says 99% chance the Cubs make the playoffs? Is there any fear you have? And mind you, you still have 3 against. So you go Cincinnati and the Mets back to back from the 19th to the 25th of September. That's a 6-game stretch, okay? You got the Braves, the Nationals, the Braves, the Rays, the Pirates, then that stretch against the Reds and the Mets. Then you finish the season against the Cardinals. Is there any fear that all year we're like, man, we got a chance to play it in NLCS, we're going to be this, we're going to be that? Is there any fear that this team may not make the playoffs at all?
A ton of fear, Sean. I'll explain why. I'll give you 2 reasons why there's a ton of fear. First of all, we saw the Cubs, what was that, 2 years ago, in a playoff position, and then they went into a series with the Diamondbacks, and I think they lost 5 out of 6 in those 2 series. Am I mistaken? That's correct, right? So that's one reason why I'm absolutely scared to death. Another thing, Sean, is when you're looking at those metrics on Fangraphs and ESPN, what they're doing is that they're calculating the Cubs' chances to make the playoffs based off of the remaining schedule and the win percentage. Yeah, so when they're like, well, the Cubs play a bunch of tomato cans, so they have a really good chance to make the. Yeah, well, we just did play tomato can in the Giants. How'd that work out for us? Didn't go very well. So if you're talking about, do I have faith in this team and beating the crap out of the bad teams so that they can secure themselves a playoff? No, I don't. I don't think the Cubs are taking advantage of the situation. Sean, we've talked about this when the Cubs had the lead in the division. We talk about this now with the wild card lead. You control your own destiny. Right now, you are first in the wild card race. So the only way you can be knocked out of first is if you play poorly, because no matter if everybody wins every single game for the rest of the season in that wild card race, the Padres, the Mets, and the Cubs, if they all win every single game for the rest of the year, the Cubs are the first wild card team. The only way they can not be the first wild card team is if they lose more than the Mets and Padres. So you control your own destiny. There's nothing that the Padres can do themselves to knock the Cubs out of the wild card. The only people who can knock Cubs out of the wild card are the Chicago Cubs, and we talked about with the division, and they had no problem knocking themselves out of the playoff or the division race. Wouldn't surprise me at all if the Cubs knocked themselves out of the wild card race. And you know what, Sean? Maybe it would be the best thing that ever happened to this team. Maybe they would wake up in the offseason and be like, there's no way in hell we could ever let that happen again. If we start this season like we did last year, we need to keep the momentum going into the playoffs. The only good news out of this whole slump, guys, is I think is Jeff Passan. Is that his name, Sean? Jeff Passan?
Yeah, Jeff Passan. Love Jeff Passan.
Read his article today and this morning that he posted, and he is convinced that due to this slump, Kyle Tucker has cost himself about $200 million. So that's the only good news we got coming out of this slump for the Chicago Cubs.
Do we want Kyle Tucker?
I'm saying if they do, he's becoming more and more affordable by the day. Because at one point his camp was talking about upwards of $600 million. Now they're talking about 354. That's certainly a conversation the Cubs could be involved in if they liked Kyle Tucker enough to re-sign him. They could be involved in that conversation. And I'm sorry, but if you're asking me, I know people love him because he's one of the longest tenured Cubs, and he's played. the odd man out in that outfield next year is Ian Happ. I mean, if you can find a way to pay Kyle Tucker and hope that he can be more consistent next year, you want your outfield to be Owen Casey, PCA, Kyle Tucker. You do not want Ian Happ in that line. I mean, maybe you could use Ian Happ as a bench player, platoon player, but I don't think he'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm with you there. I think Ian Happ. Look, man. I think it was you, Kyle, who brought this up to me. It was somebody who brought this up to me. It might have been you. That these guys, ever since these guys start their podcasts, they just seem to plummet. Was that you who brought that up to me?
Yeah, and it's not just podcasts. It's anytime they're doing anything outside of the sport. So, for instance, like Travis Kelce, I know he started his podcast last year, but before that, he started his play started to fall off a little bit when he became like a media sensation with the Taylor Swift situation and all that. And he came out and said this offseason, guys, they're like, "What's going on with you? You were on pace to be the best tight end ever in football history." He came out and said it, guys. He focused too much on things outside of football, and that's when he started to lose his status in the NFL. I think the same could be said for Ian Happ, guys. I think the more Ian Happ focuses on, this is a top 10 podcast in the world. You know that, right? Or in the United States. Ian Happ. Yeah.
Oh, really? I did not know.
In terms of, I believe it's in terms of, I don't know if it's in terms of fandom or in terms of income, but it's one of the best top podcasts in the United States of America. And I think the more he focuses on that, the less he focuses on baseball, the worse he looks. And if that's the way that, listen, Ian Happ can do whatever he wants. He's his own man. If that's the way he wants to live his life and he's more focused on media than he is the game of baseball, then have at it, man. But don't do it on the Cubs.
Yeah, get out
do
of
it somewhere else.
Just go brew coffee and podcast. How about that?
The performances of Seiya Suzuki, Kyle Tucker, PCA, and Ian Happ since the All-Star break are not acceptable. It's not acceptable.
Yeah, and for me, I have lived this, and we've all lived this. Foster Brandt brought up 69. I'm right here at saying they're going to blow this thing. I didn't have being swept by the Giants on our bingo card, and let's be honest, they haven't been swept all year. Now you're getting swept to add to all the other problems that you have that are starting to mount. Yeah, my worry level has jumped from probably 4 to about 6. I'm right between 6.5 and 7.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
If they don't sweep the Rockies, that should be at 9.
Sean, this is what I'm saying. Like last night, I had a bunch of people who were like, "Yeah, we could beat the shit out of the Rockies. It's a get right game. We're back." I'm like, guys, the Cubs hadn't been swept all year, even in the heart of that slump, and they just got swept by the Giants. This is the worst it's ever been. Yes. We just got swept by the Giants, and then even when you were beating the shit out of the Rockies, you brought a couple guys in, and Drew Pomerantz and Ben Brown, who you thought could just close out this game. You can move on to tomorrow and not burn your bullpen. And what happened? The Cubs, Craig Counsell's like, "Ooh, they're starting to come back. Oh God, 5, 6, 7. All right, it's time to use Brad Keller." Like you just burnt 2 of your best arms because you couldn't put the Colorado Rockies to bed. Like that is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. You guys, this team is one of the worst teams in baseball history. Look up the metrics, look up the record.
Yeah.
One of the worst teams ever to play baseball. And the Cubs struggled to put them away last night. That's not acceptable. That is not a championship caliber team. A championship caliber team goes up by 10 runs and then steps on their throat. Cubs aren't capable of doing that. But I mean, I won't say that I'm panicking yet, Sean, by any means necessary. But do I see a situation or scenario in which the Cubs do not make the playoffs? Yes, 100%. I see a scenario where that's happened. We've seen it. We don't have to look too far back to see it, guys. We've seen it.
Yeah,
We've seen it twice in the last 2 years.
I don't want another one of these nightmares, man. I'm hoping that they can hold on, but my nervous scale, my panic scale jumped a ton after this sweep from the Giants. And you want to be honest, that last game, they had the lead 1-0. They blew that. They had the lead 3-1. They blew that. Palencia comes in, gives up the game. And I'm like, I went no shit mode. I'm like, oh God, it's all falling apart now. Like Palencia is not getting the whiffs he was. I mean, he's getting hit hard. I mean,
this is becoming a pretty big sample size for Daniel Palencia. This has been his last 7 appearances. He's at least allowed guys on base.
Yeah,
I know he was getting out of it earlier, but the last 2 outings, it has not been the same. He's not getting out of it. I don't know.
I'm not down on him either. I'm not
Yeah,
down.
maybe the league is adjusting to Daniel Plenty a little bit, and he's going to have to adjust back. But it just seems to me like he's just kind of run out of gas. Sean, he looks fatigued. But yeah, I mean, there's like I said, the Cubs are still first in the wild card race. They control their own destiny. I'm not panicking, but would it surprise me if everything just fell apart and they didn't make the playoffs? No, not in any way, shape, or form. And I agree with John. If that happens, I'm not saying Counsell must go, but it's a conversation that has to be had because this is the same thing David Ross did when he was here. Like we were in a playoff position and then they fell out of the playoff race with David Ross. It happened with the Craig Counsell last year. If it happens 2 years in a row, guys, where the Cubs totally implode and if push themselves out of a playoff position, you got to have a conversation about the manager. You have to.
Yeah, I agree. And with the Reds or with the Reds, excuse me, the Braves coming to town after this. I know the Braves have a lot of talent on that ball club, but they haven't been able to put it together. And looking over their schedule, they've been, consistently inconsistent through June, July, and now into August. So we're going to get into that just in a short hot minute because I want to talk about this guy last week. And I didn't really get a chance to because we had the hot and heavy Mike North on the show, and he wasn't really that big on taking a trip down to the farm. But another week has gone by, and the Cubs selected Kane Kepley, 56th overall in the second round of the 2025 MLB draft. At UNC, he slashed 291, 451, 444 in 61 games, recorded 45 steals, is the fourth most in NCAA. Drew 44 walks while striking out 22 times, excuse me. This is kind of the trajectory that he's on when you start looking at this kid. More sources and scouts say he is an on-baseball machine. His qualities are elite plate discipline and bat-to-ball skills through limited power is his only concern. He is a center fielder. He showcases above range and instincts. They do say he's got a fringy arm strength, so that means he's okay. Scouts praise his hustle and athleticism. Playing with intensity is something that he is big on. Let's see, what else do we got here? This is what I like. His profile likens to Luis Arraez type contact hitter or top-notch leadoff guy. So that is great. The assessment from scouts, his contact skills, elite bat to ball, very few strikeouts, plate discipline, walks nearly twice as much as he strikes out, speeds 45 stolen bases, high minor league stolen base rate, which we're going to get into here in a second. Defense, he's a true center fielder with plus range. Power is not his game. He's a gap-to-gap triples hitter with hustle. His energy, and I love this, is hair on fire style. He has a bulldog approach. All pieces align perfectly with the classic high IQ leadoff, speedy center fielder, perhaps a catalyst for games via high on-base percentage and a glove. He's just not a homer guy. Through 19 professional games, he already has been on base 48 times. That's pretty impressive for a second-round pick. He has an OPS of 1,045. This, my friends, is a guy, Baseball America. This was from Baseball America today. Cubs draftee, 24 hits, 33 total bases, and 12 steals. Man, Kane Kepley looks like a dude the Cubs did not miss on in the second round. I was looking over everything I could find, and honestly, Kyle, the only bad thing I could find about him is he doesn't hit for power. Okay, I'll take the gap-to-gap doubles, triples guy who's going to come in kind of like a Nico Horner who will give you, a home run every now and again and surprise you with some power. But, man, I don't know if you've had any chance to look at Kepley at all, but just seeing the trajectory that he's on. So this, I forgot to put on here, the Matt Shaw, Cam Smith, and Kane Kepley, these are all the same amount of games and the numbers that they produced in the same amount of games at high A ball. So that just kind of tells you, like, holy crap, dude, this kid might be real and might be flying through this farm system for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, he looks good. And remember, Sean, the PCA, when he was going through the Cubs farm system, they said he was never going to hit for a lot of power, and here he is with almost 30 home runs. So I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean he can't learn to hit for power. He's obviously still very young. He's probably going to get a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger. He could probably end up one day being a 15, 16, 17 home run guy. Actually read something about him this morning. Yeah, Sean, if he's a Luis Arias type player, that would make your team a lot better. The only thing that's concerning about him is center field.
That is the thing I was thinking about. What do you do? What do you do with him? What do you do with him? Because you have Alcantara, and if you sign Kyle Tucker, is this guy a trade piece? Because I'll tell you, the thing that stuck out to me, because I'm always jealous when I see this guy come up to the plate and how good he is when Luis Arias is up there. It's like, man, this guy has, since Tony Gwynn, some of the best plate discipline I've seen in baseball. And him being compared to him right now, it's like, man, you don't want to give up that bat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's a guy I would try to find a way to hold on to, Sean. This is the type of, if the Cubs are never going to be able to, that team that spends a ton of money on power hitters, like they're not going to get Juan Soto, they're not going to go Tani, they're not going to get Judge, you're never going to have that guy that hits 50 home runs, 40 home runs, then they're going to have to win by playing small ball. And this guy is the definition of small ball. I mean, he is the perfect catalyst to be in the middle of a lineup for the Chicago Cubs and hitting 390, whatever they're saying. If Luis Arias had a couple of seasons where he almost hit 400, there's no way in hell I'm trading this guy. I mean, like I said, if this is if you're going to win a World Series by playing small ball, and this is exactly the type of guy you need in the middle of your lineup. But at some point, they're going to have to teach him a different position, unless they plan on getting rid of PCA, which I don't see that happening. Especially because even if the Cubs didn't think PCA was that great of a baseball player, guys, the Cubs, the Ricketts, Hoyer, they care a lot more about money than winning, in my opinion. So why would PCA is your most marketable player? He might be the most marketable player in sports. People love PCA when he came out with the red, white, and blue hair with the stars on it. And they talked to him. They talked to him in the All-Star game. He had the longest interview in the All-Star game. Then they talked to him, and what series was it after that, Sean, that he got another interview? And it was ESPN. It was a Sunday night game. It was the game of the week on ESPN. He got an interview. I forgot what team they were playing. I think it was the Blue Jays. But I mean, I just don't see the Cubs getting rid of PCA. So at some point, you're going to have to teach this guy a different position. That's the only thing I don't like about him. Outside of that, I think he would be great for the Chicago Cubs. And at some point, the Cubs are going to have to start getting rid of some of these guys. You can't have 50 outfielders. At some point, somebody's going to have to go, whether it be Kevin Alcantara or Casey. Somebody's going to have to be a trade chip for the Chicago Cubs. I don't know who it's going to be, but one of these guys is not going to be playing outfield for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. Hopefully, I mean, you're probably looking at Kepley drafted this year. If he flies to the system, 3 years from now, maybe we're looking at this kid.
Yeah, give or take. I mean, it could be 2 if he's there's a lot of players like Cam Smith played 26 minor league games.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe he's that kid. I mean, honestly, with these numbers through just 13 games, I mean, Jesus Lordy. This kid's
Sean, 40, did you say 48 through 19? I mean, that's insane.
What's that?
Did you say 48 on or times on base through 19 games? That what you said?
Yeah.
That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, it's this kid. What did he say? 33 total bases, 12 steals, and 24 hits. I mean, this guy is just tearing it up right now. And, we'll see. Some guys are just built and some guys fly through the system. So this is just the guy I wanted to say, guys, keep an eye on. We'll keep a watchful eye, because if you hear this guy in a trade down the road here, man, it better be for a really good piece. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, it sucks, Sean, is on any other team in baseball, he probably would be up here in a year and a half, 2 years. But on the Chicago Cubs, it'll be like 7.
Well, boys and girls, we got this chance. We're going to be looking ahead.
What's up, TJ?
And obviously, what's up, TJ? Thanks for jumping in. Last week we had a resounding. Mike North was the closest. John, Bruce, Kyle, and I all had the Cubs doing very, very well. Didn't work out for us.
Yeah, that's done. I'm done with that.
Mike Norris was the closest. He had the Cubs at 3-2.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks, Sean.
So I'm glad he's not on the show to make us look foolish this week. But my ladies and gentlemen, the Chicago Cubs will finish off 2 here. Let's see, where do we got? Where did I put these puppies at? There they are, the Colorado Rockies. We got a sound. McCade Brown is making his second major league start today against the Cubs. Obviously, you can see his first one did not go swimmingly. I actually have the numbers here somewhere over the rainbow. Against the Pirates, 3 2/3, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, a home run, and 2 strikeouts for Mr. Brown. And then Thomas Gordon, he's had a brutal August. He has an 8-4.
John's already got one. John's already got 1-1. John, ye have little faith in the Cubs, as do I. I not have a ton of faith in this team anymore, but I can't pick them to lose the Rockies. I just can't do it. I can't. It's not in me. I don't have it in me to pick them to lose the Colorado. I mean, especially Sean. I read a lot into this Brown guy today. He struggled mightily as far like the numbers actually probably look better than he actually pitched in that game. And this is his first game at Colorado Park. I think this could be a massive disaster. It could be a massive disaster for the Rockies. I think the Cubs are going to go out there and hammer them. And then Gordon leaves a lot to be desired too. 6.44 ERA. We know who Gordon is. It's not that great. I expect Matthew Boyd to bounce back.
A 6.44 earned run average and 8.14 in August.
Yeah, I expect if the Cubs want to make the playoffs and be that number 1 wild card team, they better beat the Rockies next year.
I mean, dude, Tanner Gordon has pitched 24 innings. He's given up 22 earned runs. You can change your pick, John. It's okay. TJ is.
You guys, I would pick the White Sox to I would pick the White Sox to win the next 2 against the Rockies.
I'll
Yeah,
pick 2-0.
I'm going 2.
I have us all down for 2-0.
John and TJ are at 1-1. Sean.
I'm gonna give it to them. Watch them be right. Now I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah, probably.
And then the Cubs, after 9 games on the West Coast, will return home and get the Atlanta Braves. We got Colin Ray versus Stephen Strider, and then Shota versus, I don't even know what's his first name, to be honest, and then Chad Quintrill. Man, dude. This is another one of those series where I'm like, man, the Cubs should win all 3, but it just feels like they won't.
Yeah, you never know. There's days Strider can be Strider on certain days. He's been inconsistent this year, but there's days where he wakes up, and I'm gonna go 2-1.
I'm gonna go 2-1 as well.
I don't know where the loss is. I hope it's not Quantrill, because that might be the most inflated ERA of any of the guys we've previewed on this show so far.
Yeah, I think it's due to his trade, and he hasn't been done well since his trade, because the Cubs did face him when he was on Miami.
I know, but correct me if I'm wrong, Sean. Is of all the pitchers looking ahead we've done since the beginning of the season on this podcast, is that not the highest ERA we've seen?
It's pretty bad.
I'm pretty sure that's the highest ERA we've seen. But John's got 2-1. I've got 2-1. Bruce?
I go 2-1.
Bruce got 2-1. Sean?
Yeah.
I'm going 2-1 in this series. I should go the opposite way, but I'm gonna not. Don't ask me why. Let's see. Quintrell. His earned run average is inflated because of the trade. His last outing against against Philadelphia, excuse me. He pitched 3 1/3, 9 hits, 9 earned runs, 4 home runs, 14 fly balls on 53 pitches, dude.
That's his last start.
That's his last start.
Dude, if his next start is his next start against the Cubs, or is he pitching today?
Yes. Oh, you know what? I don't know. In his 2 starts for the Braves, he's given up 12 runs, dude.
Yeah, I mean, if the Cubs get this guy after giving up 12 runs in his last 2 starts and he shuts them out, I'm done. I'm out. That's it, guys. That would be it.
Let's see. Atlanta today on the bump. has, I don't even know who this guy is either. Weldrip. I don't. Ooh, he looks really good though. Ooh, he's making his 5th major league start. I'm glad the Cubs don't face this guy. He's 4-0 with a .90 earned run average, a .93 WHIP, 24 strikeouts, and 7 walks. Thank God we're missing that guy.
Sean, look at John says here about Quantrill. He'll look like Cy Young against the Cubs.
John, you might just be right, my brother. You might just be
If
right.
there's any team in baseball that can make him look like that, it'd be the Chicago Cubs, Craig Counsell.
And then the Cubs bring in the team that traded everything away. The Milwaukee, or the I keep saying Milwaukee Brewers. Obviously, they're stuck in my brain. The Washington Nationals, and again, some inflated earned run averages. Or not inflated. Decent earned run averages. 530, 384, 415. I don't know. God,
I'm going 2-1, man. I'm sorry. Listen, it's not because of the faith I have in the Cubs, guys. It's because you're talking about the bottom of the barrel here.
Yeah.
These are the easiest teams the Cubs have played. I mean, the Giants would beat the shit out of these teams.
Well, we only have to pick the first game here, so we're going to give the Cubs a win.
Yeah,
I'm giving the Cubs a win against Irvin. They are not going to beat Mackenzie Gore with Colin Wright. That's not going to happen. But I will give them the win first shot.
Hey, Bruce, what were you in the last series? You 2-1?
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
John, what was John in the last series?
2-1.
Yeah.
John, what do you got for the Javier Assad, Jake Irvin start?
What do you got?
Yeah, I got 1-0.
Here we go again. We all have the Cubs at 5-1.
Yeah.
TJ's got him at 3-3, Sean.
TJ, I like your style, buddy. I think TJ might be the baseball winner this week.
Sean, John has him at 2 losses, so he's 4-2.
John is 4-2, so we got 3-3,
Yeah.
4-2, and then the faith continues from the Northside 9 hosts and producers. We have the Cubs at 5-1.
I don't even like when you say it. It makes me want to go back and change something. You got to beat the Rockies. You got to. I mean, if you lose a game to the Rockies, that's it, man. For me, that's it. If you can't beat the Rockies in a 3-game series, then you're just not in baseball.
Too. Yeah.
You know, I'm with you. I want to change this so bad to be 4-2, but it's like you should win these next 2.
Yeah.
You should take 2 out of 3 against Atlanta, and realistically, Washington is thrown in the white towel. You should technically sweep that series, even with Mackenzie Gore on the bump, because Mackenzie Gore has been god-awful since the All-Star break. I mean, Mackenzie Gore.
Yeah, but not against the Cubs. Wait till he plays the Cubs.
Yeah.
I mean, Gore. I mean, you talk about the Cubs saving themselves from really having egg on their face. When you look at the month of August.
I love John.
For Mackenzie, he's got a 5.92 earned run average, dude, in 24 innings pitched, and he hasn't made it past the 6th inning once. I mean,
yep, I'm still taking a loss there. We'll talk about it next week, but I'm still taking a loss there.
No praise in that. Well, boys and girls, that's a wrap. I just want to say, I'm going to keep the faith. My panic meter is up a tad, but we will be back on Monday with a very huge show. It might run a little bit longer, but we're giving you our full NFL predictions, our offensive rookie of the year, our defensive rookie of the year, our MVP, our offensive player of the year, our defensive player of the year. I know we did this on the Barely There podcast. I think most of mine are going to be the same. I think I have one minor adjustment as far as my MVP for the year. And then we're going to get into I don't know if we're going to do any fantasy, but it's going to be a full projection show. It should be a lot of fun. All 4 of us will be there. And then on Wednesday, oh my God, on Wednesday, we have our first Week 1 preview of the year for the Chicago Bears, baby. Let's go. I am so excited for this.
Yeah, real quick, guys, before we get out of here. John, as always, man, we love you, buddy. Thanks for showing up. TJ, thanks for showing up, man. Foster was in the house today. It's always nice to see Foster in here, man. Dustin joined the show today, one of the 4 stars himself.
Yeah.
Crooked Commish, you are the man, the myth, and the legend. Break news, Bruce, you are a gentleman and a well, you're a gentleman, man.
Thanks, Kyle.
Just kidding, Bruce.
Thanks, Kyle.
Lindsay, thanks for joining the show. And then Phil had stuff to do today, but he just wanted to come in and say have a great Labor Day weekend. We appreciate you, Phil. Anybody watching on Twitter right now, please go over to our YouTube page, hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate all you guys so much. Thank you very much. Everybody, take care of yourself so you can take care of each other. Bruce, Sean.
Yep. Peace out.
Peace until Monday.
Great
Go
Labor
watch
Day
some college football. It's going to be a great weekend.